Alright, so let me explain to you about this food grower. It's my 5th prototype, so I'm going to sketch it out for you. I haven't had the time yet to build the 5th prototype, but I built 4 of them already. So when I build it, I'll record the footage, which should still happen this year. And but right now I've got already plenty of footage of the previous prototypes, and I'll just give you the refinements of the 5th prototype here on the board. Of what's working, what's not working, what can be tweaked, and so on. So the first thing is understand the mechanics. So let me just give you a little sketch here. Alright, so you've got this square drum. Okay, that's the standard IBC flow bin. Okay, you obviously cut the top part off, so you've got open space here. Okay, and you can probably take one of these bars down or not. You can leave the little bars to the original height. You can always add some sticks to that for tomato plants. Okay, then basically we're gonna cut little slits, and I've got footage of all of that. So you got the sides are 1.2 meters by 1 meter. The first change is that we're gonna put the 1.2 meter towards the sun and not the 1 meter. So, and the reason for that is that you can have the right side and the left side, and then the front big side, which is going to give you an extra, almost, extra space to grow food. And then on the south side, you've got this also wider side, on the shady side, that you're going to put 5 trays of wheatgrass or microgreens, 5 trays across and probably 4 or 5 trays down. So you're going to have 25 trays on the shady side of microgreens, automatic irrigation, and okay, in the center, this is the other change. Instead of doing fancy pipes or PVC pieces that only professional companies can do, you're going to use a 150 liter blue plastic barrel. You can get them maybe in green, whatever colors, but 150 liters is not too big, but it's big enough that you can just keep on chucking the kitchen waste into it without fuss. And just remember, there is no oils, no citrus, no onion, no meat, no fish. And nothing funny, nothing that can, because those things, as you see from Natalie's video on worms, the oils and fish and meat, they breed mites, and mites eat the worm eggs, so you don't want that. So in the center, you're going to have this blue drum. It's going to go all the way to the floor. It comes with a lid, and that lid, and the lid, you can... let me draw the lid for you here. Sorry. Okay, so here's the lid. On the lid, so you don't have this black spot on top, you can have a little pot plant as well, or a microgreen tray, or a little round little pot plant, so you can have nice little plants coming out there as well. So every single square centimeter of this thing is being used. Okay. And then obviously on the sides, you cut these slits, and then you stick in a wooden pipe or 75 millimeter pipe. You heat them up, and I showed in the video, you stick in a pipe, you extrude it, and then you have a wet cold cloth, you put it on, and then it freezes in that shape very quickly. Otherwise you have to wait a long time for it to cool down. And that wet cloth just works like a bomb. So you have these little pockets that extrude out with lots of plants coming out. Okay, we're still figuring out the plants, but like your sages and your herbs that don't like water, they should be up on top, and things that like to be more water closer to the bottom. Obviously on the sunny side, all your prime vegetables that like that. The tomatoes, we will get to all the vegetables now, but I just, and the tomatoes would go on top. You could put 4 sticks up and even create a little cage if you need. And then you could have tomatoes growing up that cage as well. Okay, so I'm making a little mess of this. There's our box. So that's a possibility. And then your tomatoes can, but also keep them on a shady side so they don't overshade the rest of the plant. So anything tall, definitely on the shadier side. Anything shorter on the front side. Okay. But let's talk about the mechanics. So you've got the blue drum. In the blue drum, we're going to stick in a 25 mil pipe, 25 millimeter diameter pipe. So it's going to drive as close to the bottom as possible, and it's going to have a slight angle, and it's going to extrude out. Okay, so you'll just need to play in terms of the distances and measuring tape, and you'll need to cut a hole there, and you need to cut a hole there. You drill a hole in with a drill bit, and then use jigsaw. You go and you cut it out. Measure 7 times, cut once. Okay. The reason for the angle is that you're going to have earthworm tea. Now actually earthworm tea, yeah, some of it can come out here, but we're going to do something else for earthworm tea in this refined prototype. So in this thing, you will be able to get, and I would stick it to the shorter side so it's easier to grab. So it's only literally, because that drum is about 50, if you use the shorter side, it's a meter. So let's look at it from the other side. Okay, so it's a meter, 100 centimeters, yeah? And then you've got this drum that's 50. So it's only giving you 25 centimeters on both sides. And then it's got the worm tower, the worm pipe. I would probably even put it a bit lower. And okay, in fact, you could stick it in as low as possible, because the earthworm tea then, so let's say that's the bottom of your drum, the earthworm tea will collect here and it will drain out because it's an angle all the way there. Okay, but we can do something else for earthworm tea, and I'll plant some ideas and you can just, you know, play with what you feel is comfortable. Because there could be still a little gap, and some of the earthworm tea will sit at the bottom and then eventually will go fraught. Smelly, funny. So what I've done is I would put this whole thing on a little block. Okay, I would make a metal tray with sides that's maybe 10 centimeters bigger all around. You can get any metal company to do that for you. Okay. So these blocks will obviously sit there. Any water that spills over, and there will inevitably be some, okay? Any water that spills over will be collected in this tray. That could be 10 centimeters high, the sides of this tray. So it can take quite a bit of water, maybe 50 to 80 liters of spillage. And that water, you could have a little pump here, a little pump that will, a little bulge pump. You could have a little bulge pump, which is a pump that is used with a solar panel. If you position it, a solar panel, to, let's say, morning sun, as soon as the morning sun hits it, it'll go brrrr, and it will pump the water and give you, you could put a little sprinkler with it. Or you could arrange it all the way to the top of this and then have water coming down onto this box and irrigating it every morning automatically as soon as sun hits it. And you could put a little panel, tiny little panel, maybe on the south side, on the shady side, just a slight angle, or whatever the angles of the sun, you know, with some cable ties or something. You can drill through aluminium sides and put 2 cable ties here crisscross, 2 cable ties here crisscross, position it on your box. This box could be a whole another cage, a cage that these drums come with. You could stick that box on top, and which will run like this, and you could have your greenhouse clear fabric on it, and this becomes now a nursery for winter time. So I haven't tried that yet, but that's a really cool idea, because these drums are so cheap. They're $30 here in South Africa, so you can get 2 drums. In fact, the actual drum can be used in the ground to make your waterproof wetlands, so you use that. And the cage you don't need, so you put 1 extra cage on top, and this drum you leave with the cage to obviously support all the soil. Okay? The bottom of this drum, I would put a bit of gravel, maybe also about 10 centimeters of gravel, right around, not inside the blue drum, but inside the everything else. The gravel will allow the soil, the drainage to happen. And then I would drill a couple of holes at the bottom, maybe, I don't know, 20 holes, 1 centimeter, to let the gravel and any excess water to drain out. In fact, your earthworm tea can also drain out in this tray. And now you've got a tray that's full of fertilized rich liquid. And so that doesn't start to smell. And I'm sorry I'm layering it up for you, but just ideas, I mean, they're just actually coming to me right now. But so that doesn't start to smell. You could put also some gravel at the bottom, maybe bottom 5 centimeters of gravel. And you could plant some additional plants in there, like some wetland plants, or you could put a bit of sand on top. You could put maybe 3 centimeters of sand on top. And this is all new, that's why I'm showing you videos of this. So 5 centimeters of gravel, or even 7 centimeters of gravel and 3 centimeters of sand. And that could be your little propagation nursery where you do your cuttings. That's a cool idea, because cuttings, they don't need sunlight, and they will just give you roots and germinate in that rich soil. And obviously always plan for an overflow, because you don't want this now tray to start being so full of water the cuttings go rotten. So maybe halfway, just at the line of the gravel, or maybe halfway, I'd have a little overflow, drill a little hole, put a little screw-in tank connector with thread, just 15 millimeter, the smallest tank connector you can get, the 15 millimeter, and then you can run a pipe to your garden. So should that tray ever get too much, then it will just, excess will drain out. But now that doesn't leave you much water for the pump, okay? So around the pump, always remember that it would be good to have some rocks, big rocks around the pump, because then it can take some of that water. And you need to position your panel that it just gives you a few minutes of sucking, and then this thing irrigates and that excess water drains out. Now if you can get clever, you can make this tray a little bit higher, maybe even, let's say these blocks are 20 centimeters. So make this tray also 20 centimeters. This way you could cover the blocks, you don't see them. You'll have enough water for the pump. I'd say you'll need at least 15 centimeters or 10 centimeters of water for the pump. Make sure around the pump, maybe a center 70 by 70 centimeters is full of chunky rocks to allow water to just percolate straight to the pump. So you've got the pump here, you've got a water level now higher, maybe at 15 centimeters you've got water level, and you've got your pump sitting here with irrigation line to the top. You've got your cuttings all positioned here on the sides, because obviously you can't get under the square drum. And yeah, you could even plant some other short plants there, and maybe even stick in a grow lamp, so if you want, which can also be powered by the same solar panels. Just ideas. Look, this is brand new material. You guys will also need to play a bit here. I've got 4 prototypes, and I'll show you the video of how I've constructed it. But you also need to just put a bit of love and energy, and you'll figure it out. So just to recap, a 20 centimeter tray, galvanized tray, which will rust, by the way, so I'll put maybe a sheet of plastic in it, or then it could be a wooden box with 2 layers of plastic. Don't nail the plastic to the box, because that makes it obviously not watertight. So a wooden box, size 1.4 by 1.2 will give you 10 centimeters all around gap for your cuttings. At about 13 centimeters, I'd put the overflow. At 13 centimeters I'd put overflow, and up until 13 centimeters I'd put gravel as well. So all of this 13 centimeters will be gravel. Then you could put 5 centimeters of sand and 2 centimeters of soil. So it will all look like soil, but at the end of and you can do your cuttings now, it will have water at the bottom. and this pumps water, and any excess drips out back in here. You could put a toilet valve here on the side, which will automatically fill the tray, and it'll always be full from your tap. So the pump will, as soon as the sun hits it, the pump will irrigate it and excess will drain out, and when evaporation takes its place and the water level goes down, there is a toilet valve which you can check from the biochar filter, so your toilet valve does not implode with rocks and gravel. So you do little brick entrance, and I've got great details on the biochar filter, and you've got a little ball valve there that basically tells the pipe that's coming in from your tap this thing is at a good level. So that's something, and I'd love to see your pictures of this, so it would be really great. So there is some refinements. So just to recap, instead of the PVC fancy pipe with a sideways chute which I had, which comes out at 45 degrees, none of that. Blue barrel, you open the lid here, obviously the cage, you make sure the cage is maybe on cable ties that can be easily flipped, but that will interfere with your tomatoes. So you need to play with that, but that's more for winter, the cage. I think tomatoes, they just need 4 sticks, you know, and then they can do their thing. And then in winter you can take those sticks off and you can put the cage on, and the cage must obviously be able to flip open, close and open, and the cage is covered in your plastic. Also again, you can stitch it, and you make sure you use the plastic, clear plastic with mesh, because it doesn't rip at all. And then you can just use a bit of wire, you cut the wire at an angle, so you make it like a needle, and you just stitch with the wire, and then it's done. You know, 1 sheet to go all the way around, and this roof, you can just stitch that with wire, the roof piece. It doesn't have to be anything super watertight, just as long as it keeps the warmth in. So just to recap, a drum here, a piece of pipe which will go out with a lid, and then you open the lid, and then you can get your compost. Whether you use your hand with gloves, because it can, you know, it won't smell. I mean, once the compost is ready, there's no smell. Otherwise, there is these things called drywall screws, and they go in flat, and when you try and pull them out, they open up. If you could develop something like this from an engineer, maybe on a little spring that you push in, it closes, and when you pull out, it opens up. That way you can have this tool that you push in and out, and then it gets compost out for you. But it's really, that distance here is 25 centimeters, 30 centimeters, maybe to the end of the drum, 50, 60, 70 centimeters to the end of the drum. So you could easily have a long glove, and you could get that compost out with your hand. Otherwise, develop that tool, or you could have that pipe going right through like I did on my previous model, and you could have a special like tool pushy thing that you can just, a metal rod with a handle, and then at the end like a round plate that welded, and then you can just push the compost out, right out. And as you push the compost, obviously it will drop down, so you can add more. And obviously you're gonna fire that up with some good Australian red composting worms, not earthworms, but composting worms. They eat grass clippings and kitchen waste, and no onion, no fish, no no citrus, no salt, no oil. And they breed like rabbits, and they multiply every 2 weeks, and that's what we got there. They're like brilliant. In my garden tour, me holding a whole handful of those guys, that's them, and they just breed like mad. So that's the basics. I know it's a bit of a rough drawing, but I did explain it to you. So let me take you on a actual, you know, outdoor, and we're gonna build this thing. On top you're gonna have sprinklers. You'll see there's sprinklers that with drippers that come out, because you know, these pockets, okay, they come out, they go in rows, because there's these metal bars running, yes, and then you've got these, that's where your planters are. So I put little drippers just above each one, and I'll show you how I did that. So you push a small screwdriver into the pipe, and you just insert a sprinkler exactly where that line is, so it just feeds that thing, and then the sprinkler has a little control. You just turn it more flow, turn it less flow. And then on the south side, which is, if we're doing, you've got these trays. There's a standard trays, and it's a simple bracket that clips into the cage easily. It's got like a little bendy hook, and then it clips into the cage, and you've got, you know, loads of these, okay, and these are all your microgreens. And here I've got a tiny little sprinkler that sprinkles 360, and you get these little valves for those little sprinklers, and I just close the valve to the same point, so I've got sprinkler stands here, so it just sprinkles water on this tray, and it obviously drips all the way down. So and I've got, no, you will have 3 of them, because you'll have one tray here. Let me do it another color. Have one tray here, have one tray here, have one tray here. 3 trays will fit on that 1.2 meter side, and then you'll have 3 of these little sprinklers standing, and then they just irrigate right on top, like minimal wastage, and then that drips down. In fact, I would extend the tray, this tray, I would extend it to this, to include these ones. So these are about 25, so, and that's 10, so it's 35 plus a meter, so 135 centimeters by 140. Go 1.4 by 1.4, you won't go wrong, definitely not. So by 20 centimeters high, the tray. Then you've got gravel. Your gravel is at the same level as overflow, so overflow will be just below the gravel, and that can take that water to a nearby tree or whatever. And so that's 13 centimeters of gravel, and around the pump put rocks, about 70 centimeters of rocks, so about here to here you'll have chunky rocks, and there's your pump will sit here, chunky rocks, which allow water to come quickly to the pump, because gravel backslogs the water. And then you position your panel like that. Okay. Sun is here. Yeah. And your tallest plants will be here, and make sure they don't over creep over your panel either. And yeah, and as the sun hits the panel, the pump will irrigate. You could have a little sprinkler here, for example, and it will just irrigate down, and it will be a self-sustaining system. And the earthworm tea will drip into the tray, and then that's the water that you're going to irrigate from. So this is the 5th refined version of a food grower. You can make it yourself in a day. It's a super easy, super fun project. I don't think it's going to cost you more than $100 to $150, no matter what country you're in. Maybe America, you guys, and UK, but more price here. But really, it won like $150 for everything, including the drum. Maybe with a tray, an extra $50 if you could maybe get something scrap. But you can build a wooden one as well. So you know, as long as you line it with plastic and maybe varnish it from outside for outdoory varnish, you know, that they'll last you well. Yeah, so that's that. Let's go and build this thing, and I'll show you step by step how we're going. As I said, when I actually build this 5th prototype, I'll definitely record it and put it online. It's just mad things now with the shelter course and finishing up the water course. It's just it's been quite busy, working 14-16 hour days, but rock on. I just looked at the screen, and the previous drawing looks tad too small, so, and a bit messy. So I just redrew that for you, just so you know that I take pride in my work. So here it is. It's not in proportion, and these legs are not going to be so long. We're talking about a 20 by 20 centimeter, those concrete blocks, 4 of them. You could even use, depends on the height you want it. If you want it slightly high, you can use, because it's 20 by 20 by about 40 high. Or you can put them 20 by 20 down if you want the food grower slightly lower, because as it is, it's 90 centimeters plus those 20, so it's going to be about 1.1, so it could be 1.3, but then there's less bending. So just play with it, whether you put the block up or whether you put the block on its side. But here it is, okay? Here's the tray, 20 centimeters diameter, okay, 20 centimeters height. Here's the overflow at 13 centimeters. Remember that your gravel is at the top of the overflow level. So water will go up to the top of the flow, and then the overflow will drain to the bottom of the overflow, leaving the sand dry and the soil dry. Well, you know, so sand and soil will make sure that if there's any smell or leachate, as we call it, from this drum, by the way, you need to have some holes drilled in there as well. So you know the leachate can go down, and I'd put a bitumen cloth. I'd put a bitumen cloth, geotextile cloth, right at the bottom here, underneath the drum, and that will make sure that the worms and soil and the compost doesn't fall down, but it will let the you know, the leachate to go down. So lots of holes, maybe like 30 holes, about 2 centimeters diameter. You know, if I give you a top view of the drum, it'll be a lid like this, and there'll be little holes like this all over. And then you're going to put your cloth. Yeah? And it's also something I didn't, just thought of it now actually. Now these things are continuously evolving. Okay, so that will allow for the earthworm tea to drip out. Okay, mixed with all that water, which is at the level of the bottom of the overflow. The gravel is to the top of the flow. I'm recommending 13 centimeters. You can maybe even push it to 15. Why not? Then you'll have more water there. Then the pump sits there. So there's one challenge. And I think I would actually move this entire pump scenario to the side. And I know it sounds like I don't know what I'm doing, but I do, and I'm thinking it aloud, and that's why it sounds crazy. But the reason that you want to move your pump to the side is should the pump ever break. So all these rocks are going to be here. Should the pump ever break, you can easily take it out of here. So what I would actually do, this is what I would do. I would put a 110 mil pipe, like we did in the wetland, going all the way down. Okay, I'd put rocks all over here, maybe about 40 centimeters all around that pipe. I'd put big rocks, chunky rocks, which will allow the water to go in. I'd drill 20 mil holes around the pipe, like we do in the wetland, in the constructed wetland, same story. Maybe, yeah, up to the level of 15 centimeters, lots of holes. Cover that with geotextile, so the roots don't go and block up the pipe. And then I'd stick the pump there, and if it ever goes, you can just grab the pump. It's a little thing, it's a little bulge, it's called a bulge pump, it's about that size, little thing. And then from there you could run an irrigation line along the side, and you know, off it goes. Okay, that will be actually your best choice, because should the pump ever break, you can maintain it. If it's in the middle, you're gonna have to empty the entire drum, remove it, which is a big jolt. So this is for maintenance purposes. So that's actually the reason why I'm redrawing this for you, and I didn't even realize it. So I have the pump on the side. Yeah, so about 40 centimeters of rocks. I explained that. So that's 15 of gravel and 15 of water. Your overflow is at 15. Then maybe 3 centimeters of sand, and then 2 centimeters of soil, and that will act as a biological filter, keeping all the smell within the structure and not letting it escape out, and so nothing will smell. And that's a side view. Here's your tray. It will be 1.4 by 1.4, 1400 millimeters, because with that being 1 meter, with these trays being 25, so it's 125 plus 10 overlap here, plus, you know, a 5 centimeter overlap there, and then you've got a nice guaranteed thing that will not going to lose water. So my thing, when we irrigate too much, it just the water leaks out, you know. So this tray would be definitely a version 5 perfection. So here we go. There's on the south side, on the shady side, or on your tomato pole, you could have the solar panel that faces the morning sun, and then as the sun hits it, little panel this size, maybe 30 by 30, 40 by 40. Just size it correctly to your bilge pump. Tell at the shop this is what you need. You want to push it 1.2 plus an extra maybe meter. Yeah, you want to push it to about 2 meters high. You tell them how you want water to go 2 meters high, and you want it to have a little bit of a spray so it can cover 1 square meter of area in spray. You could do that, or you don't have to have spray. You could have your drippers, as in my training. You could have drippers running just below the soil level. That's probably will be even better. But then still the pump will need to have a little bit of a push to get those drippers to push out. But the drippers that I'm talking about, they don't restrict water. It's not like a little drip. You can open them up to go, they're like little squirts, and they actually go out. You know, the drippers will run along your lines of plants. Yeah? So have a look at all the videos, and they're coming straight after this, and I hope you're going to build a really nice food grower. Rock on! Here's a compost chute that we're just installing, a proper, not gimmick size. So we've showered it from one end, and now we're going to dress the sleeve. Let me show us. and that's how we keep it, you know, compost from falling out. Yeah. That's good. So there is a new hole that we made, and now what we're going to show you is this compost chute, which was a pricey piece of equipment. Damien, come. So we're going to be putting paper around it. So when we fill this whole drum with soil, it's not gonna, all the soil is not gonna fly into our compost chute, and the paper will biodegrade. So we're just gonna use a bit of cotton or hemp string that biodegrades, or masking tape. It's got a little bit of glue, I guess. So hemp string or cotton string. We're gonna wrap the paper around this chute, and then we just tie it up. Okay, hold this one, Damien. Okay, and you can go all the way around, just do one spiral. Yeah. That's it. So now we're just gonna tie it up. There is a cheaper way to build this compost chute using a blue drum. You do a similar thing with just cutting out 50mm holes all around, and you just do it with a blue drum. It's $10–15 for a second-hand drum. Those 200 liters, and it's perfect because inside there with grass clippings and kitchen waste, real soil gets made, and it'll take you quite a while to fill that up. Yeah, so I'll show you this in detail, but for now this is what I've got. I had this pipe made. It was quite a fancy piece of equipment because it has a sideways chute, so I can still have this top thing to plant more things into it, more plants, and that's why I had to have a side chute going sideways out. And but it was very expensive. I mean, in South Africa it cost me $300, which is quite a bit. I mean, a drum you can get for $10–15 and do it yourself, same thing, but then you can't have that top pretty thing above it unless you keep on moving it in and on and off. Another blue drum, for example. So you can do this for way cheaper, but you know, I was going into Expo, so I wanted to impress others, I guess. But for a low-tech DIY, no need for this fancy chute. This was a PVC pipe. Yeah, so here it is. It's ready for planting. Made the holes. If you're wondering what's going to be happening here, I'm going to have wheatgrass trays. The shady side, the parsleys love it, the tatsoi likes it, some Chinese cabbages. Some tatsoi is a Chinese type of cabbage, but I'm going to have wheatgrass trays and sunflower trays put onto this thing on the south side, or the automatic irrigation. So I'm going to have a whole sprouting system, as well as possibly mushroom growing in the back. But the sprouts, I have done it, it works. So this is it. We're going to be starting to bring the soil. Hi, Alosha here, and yeah, so I've got the food grower. Today I'm going to show you how I'm going to inoculate it with earthworms. And yeah, basically I just went to my friend and collected some worms. Here they are. Don't be afraid. They're very, very cool. So I've got maybe 200 here, and I've got 2 more boxes there from another friend of mine. So basically I started by throwing 1 bucket of soil into the bottom of this trough, just so there's something for them, so you're not throwing raw kitchen waste and worms. So there's some spongy stuff for them just to get it going. There's my paper is wrapped around the chute, not to allow this soil to infiltrate inside, to cover the whole thing up. So you want it empty, obviously. So I'll show you now, but the paper is still there, slowly rotting away. But you know, that's why you need to start throwing stuff in the center, which is your kitchen waste. No citrus, no onions, no meat, no fish. So it's all your peels, your tea bags, your paper, obviously without plastic, and all the other kitchen waste, potato peels, banana peels, pawpaw peels, pawpaw seeds, alles. You throw everything in there except citrus, onion, and meat or fish. Okay, so yeah, just gonna throw it in. To show you, there's hundreds here. There they are. Okay. Gonna throw in 1 more box. Okay. Then I'm gonna throw some kitchen waste. With the water is fine. So when you rinse out the tea from the flask or teapot, I throw it all in the kitchen waste, throw it in there. It's going to mix with earthworm juice, and then I've got the little drain pipe here for the earthworm tea, which you can put back over. So it's all good, just like that, all your kitchen scraps. Okay, and then I'm going to throw 1 last box of earthworms. Look at that. It's lovely. These are real. These are the hard workers. Okay. So the plan for now, from now on, is you throw a whole bucket of kitchen waste with a little bit of soil, just so there's no flies and none of that. So it just covers that nicely. And then the earthworm tea will drain out, which I'll show you soon. And then that earthworm tea you can throw over on top of us, and when it's all full and ready and the compost is ready in a couple of weeks, you start from that big contraption on this side, you start getting the ready-made compost out while you're filling in kitchen waste from the top. Getting compost out, kitchen waste from the top. I'm not going to be adding any more worms. There was plenty of worms and they're going to replicate. They're going to probably quadruple in volume within a month, and then it'll just extend until this whole thing will be covered in plenty of worms. As long as there's food, they'll just replicate, and worms can eat twice the amount of their body weight in 1 day. So if the worm weighs a gram, he'll eat 2 grams of food, I think 1 gram of food in 1 day. So you'll eat the entire body weight, and what he makes comes out on the backside. Unlike us humans who make poo, the earthworm's poo is soil, ready-made, delicious organic soil. That's what comes out of the backside of earthworm. They dig the soil up, they eat the kitchen waste, and they poop out organic soil. So that's why you'll have excess, which you could spread on top, because sometimes this sinks, but once you full up here, you can start using that compost anywhere else. It'll be amazing organic soil using your waste. No more worms added, just add in kitchen waste and a little bit of soil, and yeah. Let me show you the drainage. Okay, so this is the pipe. I'm gonna add an extra pipe here, a longer one for the earthworm tea. I'm gonna put a bit of a mesh here so this doesn't get blocked up with stuff. and like a foam type of stuff. Cut a foam the same size, and then I'll have a ready-made earthworm tea just draining out into a bucket a bit lower than this. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it would be ideal if this side thing would be on the other side, but it just didn't happen that way for me. But obviously I'm going to perfect the design with time. I can see what works, what doesn't work, and then earthworm tea will drain out of here, and that's liquid gold. So one step at a time. You can see my wheatgrass is picking up. Got 10 trays here. Sunflower sprouts. They're still moist, because this thing is on automatic irrigation, which was the biggest winner I had. You don't need to worry about, you can grow seeds for propagation. It irrigates itself every 8 hours. It's just phenomenal. There, we've been eating the wheatgrass. I would use 1 tray per day, so really like full high production. Yeah. Enjoy. So here's some good compost from the kitchen. Just feed it in. 2 buckets. Also good to have a little thing of soil nearby ready, because soil acts as a natural biofilter. That was grass clippings. So any smell can be prevented by covering like 5 centimeters of soil. So just gonna use a tray prepped here, chuck it in. And then you close the lid. You don't ever need a lid if you have soil. That's it. That's the feeding of the towel basically. So I see the mistake we made here, the holes go past, the drum goes past and then the holes on the side for the worms to come out so they can interact and poop into this main drum is higher than the soil. And obviously I can see compost there, which is not good, but you know, all of these mistakes will be prevented in the 5th prototype that I will be teaching you extensively how to do, learning all these mistakes through trial and error. So you're sure to get the best of what I've got in terms of what I've experimented with. This is a fourth machine we made. Yeah. But the worms, we talk about worms, they're in my other worm bath. Let me show you. Alright, let's set you guys up here. Okay, so this is a square drum, cut off square drum. So yeah, put some blocks around, so let's find those guys. There you go. I don't even need to go far. They're all here, right at the top, waiting for more compost. Look at that. So I don't want to walk on that. I don't want to compress them. They're quite heavy. I'll just give you one handful. Look at that. Loads. They're everywhere. Look at that. Look at that.
loads. So basically what happens here is I push the grass to the side, find a hole, and I excavate, put the soil to the side. See, there's some still old compost. Look how they're attacking the butternuts. That's a mango pip. So they are loving it. They are loving it. And oh wow, there's over 5,000 eggs on this mango pip. I don't know if you can see, but all these little dots. So through a bit of observation, I'm learning just this observation, that worms love breeding around like cocoa peat type of mossy, not mossy, but hairy, like this mango pip is very hairy. This is their breeding zone. I mean, by me taking this seed alone to my food grower, I'm guaranteed to have, like 5,000 worms within a month. So that's the abundance. Look at all these eggs. I mean, I don't know if this camera can see, but look at that. So how I feed them is I move this to the side. Okay. I mean, you don't even have to touch it, but gets a bit smelly there, but there's obviously no smell. And look, I didn't have to touch it, so you don't have to touch it, but here we go. Old sweet potato, it was apple peels, thank you very much. What do we have here? Mangoes, bananas, apples, thank you very much. So, no oil. Apparently it makes mites that the earthworms don't like. No oil. No no meat, no fish. So actually I like to put the grass on top as a last layer. So I'm just going to open it up. So again, cover it with some soil. Instantly the smell disappears. No problem. Okay? And then I just, to make them happy, put the grass clippings back on. Also, just keeps them moist and very, very happy. That's it. That's the worm bath. So what's going to be happening here? Obviously, it'll get to a point where it's quite full. So I'll shave a layer and spread it around my garden, and then I can keep on topping up more. I don't know if you see, that's it. So there's the worm bath. And of course there's got a pipe at the bottom that drains all the earthworm tea automatically. So also if I want more earthworm tea, I can just water this thing a bit. And avocado trees coming out. Another tree, it's just abundance. And it's a little bath. So we're gonna top up the rest of the soil, and maybe even plant one or two things in the corners. Some creepers that can cover this up, that you won't see it's even there. Hey, so this morning I'm going to be harvesting some earthworm castings compost from the bottom. Because of the way I designed this chute, I'll be using this tool which got like a little spokes. You probably don't even need the spokes, but you just need a flat surface you can push. The pipe goes right through, it's at an angle. So what I did was can have a mesh. First of all, to harvest compost tea, because the pipe is at an angle, all the earthworm tea drains out. Okay, so I've got this mesh, and then I've got a pipe here, and the mesh is so the pipe doesn't get blocked up from all the compost, you know, earthworm poop, which, by the way, doesn't smell at all. Okay, so the mesh is here to protect, and then the liquids, they just come out to a bucket that's lower, gravity dripping into a bucket that you can now, that's like liquid gold. So, but besides the liquid gold, let's get the solid compost. So it's a bit wet at the bottom, again, no smell. I see quite a few earthworms, but I just want to show you. I'm going to go from the other side, which you can't see, but the pipe basically ends up there, and I'm going to push it out, and let's see what's going on. I haven't harvested for months, so need to give a bit of a push. Now if you can see anything, it should be coming out if this pipe is long enough. Okay, let's go have a look. There we go. Look at that. Okay, so that's pure, I'd say, it's pure diamonds. So if you make the pipe, that pushing thing long enough, it will obviously all end up here. So for you to be able to put compost from top, and then obviously a little bit of soil so it doesn't smell, you need to be harvesting from the bottom. Because as you harvest, it just comes down. There's not a lot of earthworms here because they're all at the top. Let's see if that theory works. Lots of eggs. Here it is. Lots of little worms. There's one guy. But let's see where the worms are. There must be somewhere. So I'm gonna get it from the top. Let me just move the camera. My hands are filthy. No, they're not filthy. They're full of awesomeness. There you go. And look, this is way over designed. This is expensive and not meant for an average folk. You know, I was designing a product in my model that I'll be presenting to you. It's way simpler, super cheap, and you'll be able to do it yourself in one day, the whole thing. Okay. You know, they're somewhere. I'm not gonna look for them in a hurry, but do one. I also need to feed them because you know what I'll do? So I'll go get some compost, I'll feed some earthworms, and in about a week they should be all around, and I'm gonna dig in there. So I'm gonna go and put a few buckets right now. So through all my tinkering, I realized that the sponge as a filter doesn't hold. So this is a compost chute. So I just put a piece of this cloth, and it's catching the earthworm poo and the debris and whatever else, and make sure that it's covered completely. And there's my earthworm tea being drained. Obviously, if this is standing on 4 concrete blocks, the bucket can be right there and you don't need this fancy stuff. But the bottom line is that my earthworm tea is draining. Let me show you where it goes. There we go. Now it goes to a bucket that's standing right there at the bottom. From a food growing machine. So just experimenting, but I'm gonna get it right. This is my fourth prototype. So now I'm going to show you how to make your own food growing machine. So it starts with a drum. You can use a jigsaw, which is that machine that goes okay. If you want to make any cuttings with that machine, you need to have a little pilot hole. So you know, you could draw your lines, have a pilot hole with a drill, and then you go with that machine through the pilot hole and you cut across. Okay, I don't have that machine today here. I've got the angle grinder, big or small. It's quite a dangerous tool. So, but yeah, so I'm just gonna do one hole for you. Make sure you've got steady. Whenever starting the angle grinder, always start it like this, because if the blade is broken, if you left it somewhere at funny places, the blade could split in all directions at a lot of revs per minute. So always start, because you've got this protection, so always start it away from your face like this. Now that we've got 2 holes, or 1 hole, okay, then we come with our gas torch. Okay, now that you got your 2 holes cut, just warm it up gently all the way around. It's better to do this on a sunny day, because the drum is already warmed up by the sun, because this morning it was taking quite a long time. So give it a good warmth. Depends on the temperature of outside, between 2 and 3 minutes. And don't shoot it at one spot, because it will make flame and toxic smoke. Don't breathe in the smoke. So rather go from a bit further away and gently moving it round and round, warming up the whole area. Okay? Let's try this. Got a little log with a little nugget or some piece that pull it through. There we go. You could accelerate the space by putting a wet cloth to set it, but yeah, then the hole will set real quick if you've got a wet cloth. That's it. Once it's set, you're gonna have a beautiful hole that will allow a nice big vegetable to grow. I'm using a 12 centimeter, maybe even 15 centimeter log, but 10 to 12 would be better. Yeah, and you make them 1 per section, 2 on the top section, depends on your drum what you get. I managed to squeeze some holes into the sides here, and yeah, so here's the wet cloth. Nice cold wet cloth. Then we bring me a bucket. So I use it to cool it down, especially the corners here. Have a bucket nearby if you're working fast. Nice and wet. Nice and cold. There we go. And here's the hole. I'm going to show you the drip irrigation system for that food growing machine that we have created. Okay, so this guy will ideally go under mulch. Obviously you can cover it with a bit of soil, but you know, I've done it as an afterthought. If you're wondering why it's a bit mucky, I actually had it all installed, it was working, but I wasn't happy with the growth of vegetables. Hence I was enlarging all the holes a couple of days back. So the holes are now about this size, so when your spinach grows it can bush up nicely. But proof is in the pudding, and give it 3 months and then I'll show you what that guy is capable of. So it had a wetland at the bottom, that green drum, part of a 5,000 litre tank, and the trough had gravel, and that was cleaning the water from the bath. The bath water came directly, it cleaned itself, and then it irrigated itself, and that's why it has a filter that will stop the drippers and the sprinklers it will stop them from clogging. Okay, so you get 2 types of sprinklers. You get a sprinkler pipe, and there's holes here there's one. So that will be coming in a spiral, and this will do the edge. So these are adjustable sprinklers. You can turn them, and you could have more water or less water coming in. Use a screwdriver, just make a hole. Okay, apologies I didn't have one, but really it's so easy. Just push it with a star screwdriver, a small one, and then these guys, you twist them until they pop in, and it's quite easy. I've already made holes from last time. So, and then you set yourself up, and the reason I made the spacing is on that drum, then if you could just scroll there, on that drum I've got holes at certain distance apart, and they're all in a row. So I've made these sprinklers to feed an entire row of plants. So that's why the sprinklers are in a certain space. Drip irrigation, as Israeli people have proven, is the best and the most efficient way to irrigate. All of this is under mulch, under soil, under mulch. There's no wastage, no evaporation. They just feed the roots, and that's exactly what the plants need, especially in the dry conditions or when you want to save water. And I just want to show you one more piece. If you made a mistake and you've made a hole somewhere where you shouldn't, you get this little stopper, okay, and I use pliers to get them in, and you just pop it in. There we go. So yeah, basically the water is going to come in whichever way, hose pipe or whatever pipe you've got. It's going to come through the filter, which if you're not treating grey water with this, you don't need this filter. If you've got straight municipal water, then you don't need it, because municipal water doesn't have bits and pieces generally. And then it's going to go around. I've got a stopper here, and this pipe is going to carry on that side, this side, and then this is just going to twist in the center so the rest of the drum gets fed. Drip, drip, drip. And here I'm going to take the water up that chute into this pipe. Here, I cut it off here. So it's going to come into this pipe and it's going to go up the chute to that little sprinkler, and I'll just direct it so it will irrigate this entire thing. So we'll have plants here, and we'll obviously have our plants here, and then just one more thing, there is an extra irrigation pipe here. If you're wondering what that is for, that will stand here and feed all these trays automatically on a timer. The whole thing will irrigate twice a day. You don't even need to worry about it, and your wheatgrass and everything will just carry on. All you need to do is spread it, put the cardboard, and leave it alone. And that will do its thing automatically, and then 6 days later you come in and you harvest. So that's the idea, like a food growing machine. The idea here is to have a mushroom growing bag in the shade, maybe 2. We had these manufactured reasonably badly. We did it ourselves, but so how they work is two simple corners, and if I do this again, I'd have a square, a flat bar here going up, across, and there. Measure it right over this, because these round ones, they don't always come right, but this is the idea. That it clips over like that. See what I mean? Yeah. And then your tray goes inside, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got 8 trays if you're not doing the mushrooms, on the south side where it's less sunny. And then you're growing all your, it could also act as a nursery. You could propagate your seeds for this. Yeah, this is really efficient. Let me tell you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 25, 30, 25, 50, 70, plus another 20, 90, about 105 to 110 plants just in the pockets. And then I've got about 30 plants here, which will go full size, obviously. So 140, if I'm lucky, 150 plants, plus a nursery, plus the wheat growing and the sunflower seeds. There they are underneath the shoots. They should start germinating soon. There they are. It's coming through. It's coming through. And you know, it's just a food growing machine, and it's not a gimmick. You know, it's going to grow 150 plants plus your microgreens plus a bag of mushrooms at a time, in pretty quick and pretty small space. 1.2 square meters, that's all it takes. 1.2 square meters. Everybody, you can put it on your balcony, but 1.2 square meters is very little space for 150 plants. So that's what we have. And oh, one more feature, of course, we've got the compost chute. Throw kitchen waste in here. No citrus, no onion, no lemons, obviously, no onion, no garlic. You started with 2 buckets of earthworms. Then it's got a chute on the sides here, and then it comes out here, and then ready-made compost will come out. It also has a lid with a little tube which drains the earthworm tea, which you can have a bucket lower by. There's the chute. I'd put a bit of bitumen cloth here so this doesn't block up. And then this tube can obviously go to a bucket lower, or if this is on the soil, you'd have a hole dug down with a bucket, and then you've got earthworm tea that drains out automatically. You start the compost with 2 buckets of earthworms, and you just throw your kitchen waste. Maybe a little sprinkle of soil and on top, just a little bit, just so you don't have the flies. And that's it. No smell. Earthworm tea drains out. Use it fresh. You can put that water back over, so there's no wastage at all. And it grows your organic food using your kitchen waste, and with a wetland, with a little wetland which is the same size, it'll use your bath water, and it'll take water from that drum and irrigate itself. And that's what I had, but the drum was underneath this, so it's quite a nifty piece of equipment. I hope you enjoy it, and speak soon. Hey, how's it? So just want to show you so my cheap timer that was a circle disc only has 15-minute slots, and 15 minutes for these trays
For that should be fine because it's drip irrigation and I can control the drippers. But for these guys, they're just losing too much water at the bottom. You know, even with 10 trays, 15 minutes. So I want to reduce the flow rate. So I've got this mini little valve that I'm going to try out now. So just a kitchen knife or scissors, yeah, somewhere on the side here. Ooh. And you just push it in. Yeah, you push it in from the other side. Okay, so now with the valve I'm able to control the pressure. So that's off, that's full. Yeah, I might even change the sprinkler because this is directional down like this at this angle. I might even put the sprinkler that goes flat, and by reducing the flow I'll still have the spread of the tray, and yeah, at the same time, yeah, let me do that right now. So we're tidying up our food grower just to show you how long the tomato vine is, and it's full of tomatoes. I think it's reaching close to, yeah, sure. And look at that, spinach just gone up. It's completely covered the window, so the food grower can become an entire veggie garden for a whole balcony.
Yeah.
In a flat.
Yeah, it can. It can.
Cover the ceiling and with spinach and...
Definitely it can.
Yeah, it's awesome. So we're just tidying it up, and we so you could even run a few sticks here, 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 and let them run along. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers to water self-sufficiency and beyond.
Voila, it's that easy.